She read and wrote Jewish, and she knew some Hebrew. She was a bright lady. So far as smartness, she was brighter than my sweet adoring grandfather, who was just a booby doll. Big blue eyes and big red bulbous nose. And I could always remember him sitting on Banner Avenue on the stoop. You can still witness that stoop.
Yeah, it's still there.
636. I always get the
On the
numbers.
other side of the street.
We're going to go by on the way out of here. We're going to go by there, just past by.
He would be sitting on the stoop. I would run off to the beach by myself at 8, 9 years old.
My goodness.
It was nothing.
Huh?
I was free as a bird, and I was a crazy bird.
A cuckoo bird.
And he would always be sitting there. He really should have been covered from the sun. He was so pink, like Ramsey looked
Very
like
fair.
him.
Mhm.
Very fair, with a red nose. But I can remember Ramsey going to a doctor, and he would say, I think you should miss the booze. She always looked like a boozer. She was so fair, and a red nose, and we tend to have ball-like noses, so it was blue eyes. That was him. Sweet, sweet man.
He looks like he's dressed as a rabbi, a religious man.
That was also part of the garb, but he was not a rabbi. He was not learned in being to be learned enough to be a rabbi. He was a Malamed. He was he taught boys to prepare them for Hebrew
For their bar mitzvah?
bar mitzvah.
And, right, is that what they
Okay.
call it now?
A tutor.
And is that how he made his living?
Yes, that's the reason they had enough for a stale roll that they shared.
Not much money.
No, and Mushy always was good at sewing. Nobody really taught her. But they seem to have had very tall tables, long legs on kitchen tables. And she would sit under the table, and as really what you would call a child, 5, 6, 7 years old. And sew her brother's handkerchiefs, you know, a piece of rag
Embroider.
that you'd make.
She would embroider.
Yes, no, she would hem it.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if she embroidered. I have some of her work here that she did at that very early age.
Wonderful.
But she, so that comes natural to her. She was always that way. And at the tender age of 18, she married. But she had time from graduating from high school to go as a job. Now, where did she work? Was it Best and Company or one of the
Fancy linen.
fancy places? She hemmed the debutantes' wedding gowns. Yes,
Very
for
interesting.
about a year she worked there.
Could we hear the story of why she wed at 18?
Why she wed at 18? Women got married at very early ages, and for a very good reason. They didn't live very long. They
You
had
wanted to
hurry
know
up.
how they met?
Yeah.
Ask her.
How
ask
they
Sylvia.
met. Now, your grandmother remembers that story. I don't have that recall. I have other, you know, it's very interesting. I always said I didn't have a very nice father. Enid always said she had a wonderful father.
Perception, right?
Isn't it wonderful?
And
so
your
that's
sisters.
just a little example
Perception, it's what
of
you
how we
remember.
perceive things.
How about that wonderful story about how they came over
How
on the
when
boat?
when they got here, well,
Sylvie, with the eye. The
yes,
boat.
I'm going to tell that.
I'm checking is how much
Herman
they have left.
And Benny, that's their oldest son, came to America before the rest of the family
Oh.
to earn money to send for the rest of them. The only one that was born in America was Uncle Lou. Fanny used to say she did too, but could you like to make us up a little younger?
But she was older than
She
Minnie.
was older than Lou, and she was born in Russia, Barbara. I ask everybody I'm surrounded by Russians. Nobody
No one
heard of
knows.
Barbara.
No.
They keep saying it must be Belarus. Belarus now.
Well, the names changed, the borders changed.
Yes. Well, borders changed very often.
Because on the Zager side, they were Resniks, and they lived in Vilna, and Vilna was part of Poland. now.
Right.
So
Yes.
the borders changed.
Yes.
So,
So, when they got enough money together to send for this whole group, they came steerage, rather. It was, you didn't have a room. You slept on the deck. Okay? And
Do you remember the
were glad
movie
if you
Titanic?
had a little room that nobody else was going to pee on you.
that's
It
true.
was a very horrible experience. And it lent itself for infection.
And it was a long journey.
Sure, it wasn't a jet.
Yeah.
This was a slow
They took
moving boat.
months to get across.
There is my cousin
Miriam?
Alvy, Al, did buy a rock at the, you see now you got to me too
Ellis
late, I don't
Island.
remember it.
Ellis Island?
Yes, Ellis Island, you could, for $100 you could have the family name instilled in one of the rocks
Really?
along the edge. And so you can find Ossipal. He bought a stone for Ossipal.
Oh, wow.
Yes. It's like a stone, it's a lovely place to visit. But at that time, they didn't have 2 cents, let alone any big time money. And Mushy got an eye infection. She must have been about 4 years old. Now, what does this lady, I said she was smart, do with a bunch of kids, steps? Before you left the ship, you had to go up to be inspected physically to see that you were not bringing any contagious diseases. And one of the biggest problems was an eye infection. Well, my grandmother saw this kid's got an eye infection. We're all going to be sent back to Russia. Her husband and her eldest son worked for God knows how long to get this money together. All this was going to go down the drain. She sent one kid at a time up for inspection, and she spaced it, I guess, so that she never sent Mushy up for inspection. So when she had to get her off the boat, women wore these long, full dresses, and this was a 4-year-old kid. So she had her under her dress, and she walked her out the boat.
And we heard that she sent another child,
Yes.
so you had the right amount
The
of children.
count was right,
The count
but
was
she
right.
could have sent Dinah or Annie or who else am I forgetting?
And then the eye was not treated, right?
But the eye was never treated.
So something came up and now she can't see, right?
Well, she only had, see, when my grandson David, Big David, when he had a problem with his eyes, Gramsci always thought it was because of her.
Silly.
Fran thought that. We knew better. It was not a generic thing.
No.
There wasn't. She had an infection. If they had gotten off the boat and taken her to a doctor, it would have been
fine.
treated.
Right.
It never was treated. She always saw black and white from one eye, nothing more. But she sewed it. She worked as a seamstress.
Sewed
She
incredibly.
did everything.
Right.
She read. She, was able to do everything. But with one eye, she had only shadow vision, and so that's why with my great-grandson, when he's got a problem with an eye, we're looking to trace where. It's hard to know. But that's how they got here. And they lived in the east side in a tenement. You walked up, I can remember as really the same age as when my mother came here, like 4 or 5 years old. Walking, I used to think I'm going up to 7th heaven. Endless steps up to the top. In the hall there was a bathroom. 2 families shared it. 2 families. With 100 children apiece.
That's right.
Everyone shared this bathroom, and We had all the holidays there. My grandmother cooked fully, amply at that point when the children were already married. But they did have a very hard time at the very beginning. They used to truly buy rolls from the day before. They were cheaper. And
Day old bread.
yes, I always remember that
Sure.
sort of thing. But then Gramsci did go to the school that had a terrible demise. She was very lucky. The shirtwaist fire is one that you can read in history. And there is a plaque on the building there, if you go down around Battery Park. There was a terrible fire in there. All these young women that worked, the seamstresses, but they had no fire escapes, no door, no exits,
Oh my goodness.
and they just either they burned to death or they jumped.
Oh.
That's why it's something that was in history. She worked there before the fire, but, as a seamstress. High schools were, I guess, if you went to an academic school, it would be 4 years. But she went to what at that time was called,
Trade school?
yeah, it's something different, but
Vocational.
like that. Vocational, thank
Okay.
you. Thank you. Vocational schools. So it was 2-year high school. And she got her diploma. I think I have to go back a little bit to when they first came, and my grandmother knew they had to go to school. And so she looked
This is
around
funny.
and had to find a school that seemed the best for her kids. There was one very close by that gave lunches. This was it. For a year, they all went to Catholic school.
That's
Is that
good.
great?
Oh, that's good.
Funny.
See what a little lunch will do?
What a little lunch will get you.
It's funny.
Yeah. That is an economic story. Well, I could remember very well. The Depression started in 1933. I could see the headlines.
Gosh.
In 1933, so I had to be, I think, 13. We lived in this house that was bought with the Smalls, with my parents' friends. They lived, I can go back to, they lived near Applebee's farm on Belmont Avenue. It was a big farm.
I should remember.
The Levine girls used to ride me around in the carriage. And I remember when Enid was born, which was 6 years later, I was under the stairwell, the staircase goes this way, and there's a space under it. They had me there, couldn't know what to do with me.
That was your
Enid was
room?
born at home.
That was where your bed was?
No,
Under the
Enid
stairs?
was born at home, and the Levine girls had me there, and I remember I loved to go into the Levine household. They were a big family with a big round table, and she always had spaghetti, so you could always have another kid come for spaghetti, because it was cheap.
Sure.
And I stayed there while my mother had
While she was giving birth?
yes,
while
and
the
then
labor.
I stayed most of that week at the Levines. I had a picture of them. But there was Appleby Farm. So they had friends, the Smalls, and they decided, they had come one summer to take a bungalow in Brighton, and they said, the air is, ocean air is going to cure everything and make it healthy and wise. I can put up more hot dogs and things. Anyway, I smell it suddenly. They loved it. So they decided, the two families, to buy a house. And they bought it. It's the last block in Banner Avenue. And when they built the Belt Parkway, they took a little bit of our backyard away. Because the Belt Parkway, it was right, is still right
Right, there's
behind.
like a service road behind there.
Right, yes. So that was being constructed that time. So the two families bought this house, and there was no way of going indoors from the two upstairs. Mother had to come outdoors to go when it was her turn. They took turns taking care of the furnace because there was coal, and you had to shovel coal. And she would come downstairs and go. Reba lived on the first floor. She was able to walk down from a side entranceway. But we had an extra alcove, like the entranceway to the building, created another alcove. That was my bedroom. I am 9 years older than your grandmother, 6 years older than Aunt Enid. So I was always, they thought I was the hired girl. I was the same height as I am today. Of course, half the width, but the same height. And they were two little cute girls. I was the hired girl. Can I speak as to the lady of the house? That's my mother. But during the Depression, when it was very difficult to get a job, your grandfather was always going to make it big in business. He went into business endless times, lost his shirt endless times.
It's David.
David went in and out. Once he had about 12 partners, and one was robbing more than the next. One reason or another, they all went down. Those businesses never made out well. But because Minnie was such a good seamstress, there was all this fabric, and women never left the house without a hat, gloves, stockings, and heels. Otherwise, you were just awful.
This is right at the turn of the century, or in the
And
1930s
so
then.
we had all that fabric that they used to make the hats, and I had a hat to match every dress because it was the same fabric. And we were all, we never threw a thing out. If a coat got shabby, it was cut down, worn parts thrown
Put
away,
a new
and it became
collar
a
on,
dress.
might change it.
It became a winter dress. It was never thrown away. My grandchildren don't understand this. They're not from the Frugals. I don't know about you guys.
Well, I can
We
relate.
try.
Yeah.
We try and recycle.
But, well, Fran also thinks she does. Anyway, so there was this condition of this man finding it very hard to make a living. He was a milliner, made ladies' hats. In between, he would get a job, and he never had a problem getting a job, but he was determined to be
He wanted to be
a
successful in his own
successful
business.
businessman. And we'll say this for him. He had two very dear friends, two dictionaries. He called them his friends. He was very ambitious. When he came, he was 16
Self-learning.
years old. And he went to night school. Worked during the day and went to night school. Always had an accent also. But never can get rid of it. But a little dictionary that he kept in his breast pocket and a big one that was home. He was, I inherit that. I adore dictionaries.